Hey guys, welcome back. This is Mike Fitzpatrick with the Mike Fitzpatrick team at Keller Williams for Tactic Tuesday. This week we have Eric Schardinger from Eagle Inspections. So we're going to be asking a lot of questions to Eric, but first we want to get to know him. But the questions we're going to be asking are going to be a range of, hey, I'm a seller. I'm thinking about getting my house ready to put on sale. What should I keep an eye out for? Buyers, I get a ton of first-time buyers. Mike, why do I need a home inspection? How many inspections are there? Do I need all of them? What are the most common ones? What do home inspectors look for? Is a home inspector a licensed roofer? Are they licensed in certain areas? Can they be licensed in certain areas? And then we're going to dive in a little bit more about when you're at a home inspection, what to look for. Right. And then at the end, we're going to find out a little bit more about Eagle Inspections, and then we're going to let them talk. But right now, we're going to introduce Eric. Eric, he's been a licensed inspector for about 18 years. He started up his own company, if I'm not mistaken, 14 years ago. So, Eric, please introduce yourself to everyone.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name's Eric. I run Eagle Inspections. We've got 10 inspectors on the road every day, helping everybody out in the Philadelphia metro area. Most of my guys are a little bit of myself and them. We're a little bit of house nerds, and we just love doing what we do, and help people not fall into the pitfalls that, strangely enough, I've bumped into and fell into myself over the years in houses that I've bought. So there's a real, piece of giving back, which we really, really enjoy in the job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's start off with the most common and easy question right here. So I'm a first-time home buyer. Whether I'm going to a buyer seminar, whether I'm reaching out to an agent or going through the real estate A to Z, 1 to 10, whatever. But we get to the home inspection phase. If I'm a real estate agent explaining to this buyer, what is this buyer going to expect from Eagle Inspections? What's going to happen when they get out to the property?
One of the things that we do when we get there, we corral our clients. Sometimes they'll bring family members, they'll bring everybody to the house.
Yep.
When you're buying a home, it's strange. The home inspection is the time you get to spend the most amount of time in the house before you get a chance to buy it, and it's yours. So it's a great opportunity to have people come and look at the house and really get into it. And we will collect our people, have a conversation, set the expectations of what we're doing. Invite them to follow us along and ask questions. I mean, it's a really, really good opportunity to educate them about their new home. And it's shocking about some of the simple things that people just don't know about their homes, that they can make living in their home more comfortable and less expensive if they just follow some of the advice, or just we're there to listen as we explain their house to them.
Great. What's the biggest or most common advice or something that you educate the client with that they would never expect about the home inspection?
The biggest thing they wouldn't expect. We give a ton of advice on heating and cooling systems as far as the efficiency, because we waste so much money on our utility bills and 90% of the time it's us. We're doing something that maybe our parents taught us, but now we're in a house that's different, and that's not the advice we might necessarily want to do in the new house. So we give them advice specifically to their home so they could save money. The areas that they need to maintain, even just filters in a heating and air conditioning system, that we give them information about the type of filter they want to use. It's not necessarily the most expensive filter. Like some people just think, more expensive, better. That's not always the case. You can really make your systems last a whole lot longer with just that teeny tiny bit of maintenance. And every time I buy a house, there's a weird thing I do. I actually caulk the outside and inside of every window, because all the brand new windows are perfect, but that doesn't count the space around the window that's the house that's leaky as crazy. The window's perfect, but the space isn't. Just sealing the inside and outside of the windows, you could probably save 10 or 15% on your utility bills throughout the whole year. And it's 5 or 6 tubes of caulk.
Yeah. So I totally agree with this. So the information that we gain from you guys, I mean, I've been doing this now for 23 years. And I remember the first 5 years, I made sure I was at every single home inspection, because I picked up so much stuff, so much knowledge, just to keep my house, do preventive maintenance. The one thing I always recommend, like when somebody gets a hot water heater, they were always saying that the life expectancy is between about 16 and maybe 21 years, depending on. But if you want to extend that, all you got to do 6 months out of the year, you get a bucket, you get a garden hose, you see that little spigot at the end,
Yep.
and you get all those ions, and it all comes out brown. It's all the stuff that is how your hot water heater bust, right? Because it eats at it. And if you do that every 6 months, you're going to probably add another 4 to 5 years on that hot water heater. But these are some of the tips that I've gained over the years because of you guys.
And it's such a simple thing to do. And a lot of houses have like a drain in the floor in the basement. They can just run the hose right to the drain, open it up, watch the water till it gets clean. After they wash all that sediment and the stuff that's in our water that just settles to the bottom of the water heater, and it cuts down efficiency. So you're heating up a bunch of dirt instead of heating up the water.
Yeah.
And you fix your efficiency, and you make the things don't burn. I mean, they burn out because they're trying to work so hard to get past all that stuff that's in there. And most people have, that's the water that comes out of our tap. And it's actually good that all that sediment stays there instead of coming out of the tap. But you do it once or twice, it's kind of nasty and a little shocking.
All right, great. So walk us through the home inspection. So if a buyer comes in, let's say it's a normal 2-story house, it's a normal 2-story house, roof, second floor, main floor, it's got a basement, of course, it's got electrical, HVAC. It's not to get into like a 30-minute conversation, like a breakdown, but in an outline, what are you looking for? What are you checking for?
In a nutshell, everything. But it's the way a home inspector looks at a house is a little different than most people do. Like they come in, they want to put their furniture, they want to make sure everything's nice. We do this weird thing where we look really, really close, and then we pull back, and then we look over here really, really close, and then we pull back. Because if you don't pull back, you're going to miss the things just because there's so many things in a house. So we usually get there a little early. We try to get the roof done before the client gets there. There's nothing more uncomfortable for us than being up on the roof and my client comes up the ladder.
I've had that.
And you don't want to yell at them, but it's like, I'm not insured if you fall. So please go back down. We'll take tons of photos for you. You don't need to be up here. So we try to get that done before they get there. And then the whole thing is a walking tour. Like I start in the basement. Some of my guys start upstairs and work down. I usually start in the basement, work up. We all have a pattern that we walk through the house with, so we don't miss anything. Because it gets to be a real interactive conversation, and the customer might be worried about something way over here, and I'm like, I haven't gotten to that yet, and I don't want to miss what I'm doing over here. So there's definitely a difficulty in the perspective that we both have, and perspective is huge. Like we find everything because the way we look at a house and what we're looking at in the house, we're going to find all the things, whether they're little, whether they're big. We're going to push the house to find as many issues as we can to educate our customer. Just like if you're buying a used car, you would take it to a mechanic. We're the mechanics for the house. I mean, in the most simplest terms, that's what we do. We check it out. We make sure that you know what you're getting. So you go into that next step in the real estate process, educated about what you're getting.
Right. And I always recommend when you guys are done, if I'm not mistaken, I've gotten plenty of reports back, and they go anywhere from 23 to about 40 pages.
Yeah.
But it is so informative. Like there was a time, I think it was about 7 years ago, or maybe even longer, but I was looking at some of these reports and I'm like, this is a manual. And and I'm like, we need to treat this as a manual. So when I think we started, I mean, we might have started this 10 years ago, but we got really serious about 7 years ago. We bought maybe 100 3-ring binders, and our admins or our transaction coordinators would print out in color what needs to be done, the full inspection, punch the holes in it, put it in there, and a big picture of their house. And this is your manual. Because even if you decide to put a cap on the inspections, let's say there was something not major, but it's a project. Now you have your project for the next 5 years. And I think that's one thing that we do get compliments on. So when I do a buyer consult, when I explain the home inspection process, I like to use analogies. Because as a real estate agent, as a home inspector, we do this every day. So we take things for granted. So I have to relate them to other things. And one of the things I always use is it's like when you go to your doctor's office, when you go for a checkup, well, I'm 20 pounds lighter, but I used to be a heavy person, and I out of shape, but I felt great. I go into the doctor's office. He takes my blood, vitals, blah, 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 tells me I'm too overweight. I'm eating too much red meat. And when I leave, I feel like a used car. And over the years, there were some home inspectors, they would scare the buyers. Like, there's 23
Oh,
things wrong with the property, when they're all like little major items.
they're
And I had to tell them, I'm like, these are minor. These are things that need to be looked at in the next 5 years. And this is 100% fine. And these are the things that need to get repaired. But with the general doctor, if he were to find a cardiac issue, he's recommending you to someone licensed in that field. Just like if
absolutely.
you were to find something wrong with your HVAC, hey, you need to go get a heating cert. You need to go have someone looked at this.
Absolutely. And that happens quite a bit. We do train a lot. So that what we want to try and do is not just do that for everything. So we really do dig down in. I want to give my customers much value. But when I refer them to that heating guy, I'm not just saying call a heating guy. He might fix whatever I think might be wrong. It's like, this is wrong. This is the issue. These are the parts that are having a problem. Call that guy. He can fix it. I can't give you an exact price, but we'll give you a guesstimate of what it is and what the average cost for that repair would be, for perspective, because perspective is huge. I can scare everybody. I can say structural damage.
Yeah, all of a
And,
sudden it's like,
and then the customer, I've actually had customers blank out because I said structural damage. They're still hanging out for the inspection, but mentally they're gone.
they're gone. They're gone.
And then I'm like, but it's a settlement in this corner. All you need is a helix screw and one little thing. We're probably talking about $800 or $900, and then magically they're back. They're like, wait a minute, I told you structural damage, and they're like less than $1,000. I'm like, for this particular thing, sure. I just want to do that so you have a perspective of what you're getting, because everything can be fixed within reason. There are some times where it gets above beyond your budget, but I don't know your budget.
Right.
I don't know the customer's budget. I don't, I know some of the areas where I'm doing inspections, but I don't even know the values. I leave that for the realtor. I don't do the research on that. I know the building.
Correct.
So we're going to focus.
So let's talk a little bit more on the licensing. Like, you're checking the roof out, you're checking the HVAC, you're checking the electrical. Are you licensed in each one of these fields? What makes you the expert in that area?
Well, some of the guys are, or whatever their background was, they may be licensed in one particular area. I was a roofer. I have electricians that work for me. I have plumbers that work for me that are now home inspectors. Getting your home inspection license is really challenging because you learn to be a generalist in almost all the fields. So I know how to identify the problems. I know how to troubleshoot it to a point, but say a heating guy who's a licensed heating guy, he has that experience of fixing it all the time. I could possibly fix it, but I know he can. And he knows the shortcuts and the stuff that I don't know because I'm not building it all the time. I'm just troubleshooting and trying to find issues. So for us, it's safety and function is our prime focus.
Right.
So if it's safe, it passes. If there is a such thing as pass or fail, it's got to be safe and it's got to be working. So if we find a system that's not working, we ID it and then we kick it either to the other guy, or sometimes it's an easy fix.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I brought this up is because we get this a lot, because like in certain professions, in all professions, this could be, besides real estate, it could be police officer, fireman, teacher, and all that. You're going to have that person who is doing it wrong, who is cutting corners.
Sure.
So even though they may have that license, whether they're a licensed roofer, licensed HVAC, but they have been known that they only have like 2-star ratings, they're in problem. But with the home inspector, he's going to show you what is wrong, how to correct it, but you have to get someone licensed in that field to, redo it. Like I've seen so many people, like with a home inspector, it's like, yeah, you got a brand new roof, but they did the flashing wrong. You're actually having the water go inside underneath the shingles when it should go on top of the shingles. And this is information that the buyer really needs. So another thing that we brought up, that when you started, was 18 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and I know my profession, I've seen changes in technology.
Oh,
I
wow.
remember my first year when I saw a home inspector get this little cute, I probably still have it. That's a scary thing. It's a 3-prong adapter. He went around and checked the outlet.
Mhm.
And if 2 lights went off, you were fine. But if the one light went off and the other light, something's repolarized. So I kept that bad boy. Every time I was showing a house in my my first year, let me check this house out. Oh, look at this one. This outlet's wrong. I'm like, what am
Sure.
I doing? But over the years, have you seen certain like technology? Like I seen home inspectors go on roofs, and now they're using drones.
Sure.
I've seen full devices to check for moisture. What were the major changes that you've seen in the technology in your industry?
Well, it's actually the stuff that we use that's technology has actually made our job 100% better for the client, because we can literally dig in to because it's technically a visual inspection. So
Correct.
because the buyer doesn't own the house, the realtor doesn't own the house, I don't own the house, none of us are allowed to damage anything. So it's a visual inspection on the day while it's still owned by somebody else. But with the technology, we can not only dig into it, like I see all the time, somebody gets a roof, they have a leak, it makes the stain in the ceiling. They fix the roof, but they don't fix the stain.
This stain. And then the appraiser goes in there and says, I want a roofing cert. I'm like, what?
Because he doesn't test it.
Right.
Like we'll get up there, and I'm lucky I'm a little taller. I can reach the ceiling with my moisture meter and say this is dry, and a plaster ceiling will stay wet for 3 to 5 weeks after a rain if there's a drip. So I know how long ago it rained. So I'm like, all right, so if this leaked 2 weeks ago when we had a rain, I should have somewhere between 5 and 10% moisture. If it leaked, it'll be like 40 to 50 because it slowly dries. And I'll hit that spot. Nope, 40 to 50%. This has been leaking. This is an active leak. We know we have an issue. My customer now knows they have a real issue. Or this is bone dry. They fix the roof. And when I get up on the roof and take pictures, whether it's a drone or a ladder, I'll have a photo of that area and go, look right here. This is where they fixed it. And that's where the leak was in your bedroom, but don't worry about it. It's been fixed. And then we'll give them like how old their roof is, how long they can expect to, not have to replace it. We have infrared guns we use now. We used to charge extra for that inspection. We had a meeting and all the guys agreed. We find so much stuff with it that it was worth it. We just included it in the general inspection, and we use a thermal gun on almost every inspection now. We find electrical problems because they heat up. We find roof leaks because they're cold, because as the water evaporates, it cools the surface. So we can actually see water leaking down inside the wall through the drywall. The insulation is not where it needs to be. We can show you where the voids are. I can see the studs in the wall because
When they insulate it the wrong way, they turn it.
there's so many things. And it's funny because people think it's just old houses. Are some of the houses we have the worst problems with are brand new construction.
Right. Oh yeah.
And it was
corner,
just
right?
built, but it's wrong.
Right.
And,
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if I'm a buyer, whether I have a real estate agent or I don't, and I'm calling you for the first time to set up these appointments, I mean, that home inspection right there sounded evasive. I mean, well, wait a minute, this guy's going to get up there and check everything from the roof all the way to the basement. So I should be good then, right? I don't need any more inspections then, right?
Well, no, that's the general home inspection. But then there's a whole bunch of other careers. You've got the exterminator who does termite inspections or wood destroying insect inspections. My guys do them in-house because we try not to farm anything out.
Right.
But these are all separate jobs. Like if I see termites and I'm just a home inspector, I can't write that report. So we had to go and get separate licensing for that. We do radon testing in-house. We take care of, we actually do sewer scopes in-house now.
That was the big one I've seen ever since I think when the market changed, when a lot of investors went out there flipping houses. Now, I don't want to put the whole ball of wax on the investors because they don't use the pipes as much as a homeowner would. So when an investor goes in there and they're working, the only time they turn the water on is like to do the brushes and all that other stuff. They're not really inspecting them. And when that homeowner gets in there and they're doing a load of wash, somebody's in the shower, somebody's doing the dishes, all of a sudden this builds up. It's like, I just bought this house. I had these guys home and do a home inspection on it,
Sure.
But you do the sewer scope. That's enough. I tell these buyers, you can have an inspection for anything you want. I mean, besides the normal stuff, the home, the termite radon, you got well water, you got septic, you got lead-based paint. Well, sewer seemed to be a big one because of that time period we were in. People were flipping houses left and right.
Well, and
Did
the
you get
age,
into that? Did you see the
oh,
benefit of that? And did you get into that?
we definitely did. We actually started a sister company about 6 months ago that we have our own plumber that does the sewer scopes. So it's a person who's certified to just do that. Home inspectors can do it, but you'd much rather have a plumber that knows what they're looking at, because it's not the most attractive thing to see inside the pipe that all your sewer water goes in and out of. And I don't want to put that camera back in my car after I just did a sewer scope. Um, so we so we have an in-house guy that does it. But like you said, I mean, the housing stock in the Philadelphia metro area is aging. So
Yes.
those pipes are in some places 70, 80, 90, 130 years
Terracotta.
old, right? And that stuff just doesn't hold up forever. And it's a really expensive repair.
Really?
It,
Because I was going to get into that next. How
yeah,
expensive is it?
it's if you're in the city and you're close to where the street piece is, you're probably looking at $4,000 to $5,000. In the suburbs, it can get as
Uh,
high as 10, 15,000 in the suburbs because they're deeper and further from the actual sewer. Um, and I think it's $275, and we look, and you'll know if you have an issue before you buy the house. And then that becomes something that you can either negotiate or at least be aware of and know that it's something you got coming up in your future.
exactly. And the reason I bring this up is because everyone that is listening to this video, whether you're a buyer's agent, listing agent, a seller, or a buyer, this is a very important inspection, because here's the deal. That seller, you may not know what's going on with your pipe. And when you sell the property, you sell it to the buyer, and then the buyer now has a sticker price of $7,000 when something goes wrong. Guess what? They can't use a homeowner's insurance company. It's not covered in homeowners, not. Now, agents, I need you to show your benefit. Okay. Show the benefit to the seller and saying, get a home warranty. Now, home warranties never used to cover sewer scopes up until about 4 years ago. Now, I'm not saying all of them do, and some of them it might be an added feature. But here it is. At the end of the day, guys, it's a deductible of like $125, or you could pay $8,000.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's a great selling feature that if the agent recommends to the seller, we're listing this property, we're going to offer, doesn't matter what we get for the house, but we're going to offer a free home warranty, but make sure that covers what your house has. Besides the sewer, if you have a pool, make sure it covers the pool. If you have 2 refrigerators, make sure the other refrigerator is going to be included. And the same thing with the buyer. Make the other person's life a little easier. If you have repairs or something like that, make sure for the future, ask for that home warranty. Now, I don't want to sell home warranty or anything like that, but I just wanted to bring that up because cost effective. I mean, what would you rather spend $125 or $8,000?
Well, you're right. You don't want to be financially foolish. I mean, it's silly. And most of the time, it's just something no one thinks of. And as a realtor that deals with it all the time, or a home inspector that deals with it all the time, this is just advice that I would give to anybody if they had a question, and say, that first year, that warranty, and you can extend them.
Yeah.
You can purchase it over and over again. And I know clients that have, and they love it. But that, at least having that first year where you have someone to call, like, everybody doesn't know a plumber, an electrician, a heating guy, this thing, a pool guy. Like, you don't know anybody. You call the warranty company, they handle it. They send out the right guy.
Right. Awesome. So let's flip the coin a little bit. We spoke about representing the buyer. We spoke about, what goes on with the home inspection, not to get on the ladder, don't go up on the roof, but just listen to your home inspector, do all that stuff. But let's say I'm the seller, right? Are you my enemy, or are
Oh,
you
God,
my
no.
friend? You my
God,
friend, right? You're telling me what's
absolutely.
going on with the property. But here's the deal. Let's say that I'm getting ready to list my property. Wouldn't it be a beneficial thing that if my listing agent would recommend a pre-home inspection before I put the property on the market? How many of them do you do? Do you see a benefit with that?
We're getting more and more of them, and there's a huge benefit. The liability when you sell your house can be significant, but if you get a home inspection, when you're filling out that disclosure statement, you're disclaiming everything. I don't think saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know.
Right.
You sound like a politician. You don't sound like a seller. I have no responsibility. I don't remember, but things happen and you do remember. And you're like, oh, that's right. We did have that roof done. I'm not sure how long ago that was. But if a home inspection comes through, now you have all that information, you could kind of bulletproof yourself against any liability down the road where a buyer might be mad at you that you didn't tell them about something. And if you're telling them up front that you know what some of the issues are, I don't know, I'm not a realtor, but I feel like that would give you a real upper hand in the negotiation, saying, well, I already told you.
Right.
Like, I'm not negotiating that. I already told you about it. You knew about
Exactly. And you chose not to put it on there. You chose, right. Exactly.
it. Right.
So, and I think it, like, for sellers, this is great, but also for flippers, this is a
Oh,
huge tool for you. And
yes.
believe it or not, you don't take advantage of it. And I have, so over the years, I created a mass of investors. But
Mhm.
I have this one investor. He's a painter by trade, but he loves to flip houses, and he loves to, whether it's a 60% remodel or a 99% remodel. You know, he never takes anything, but he does mostly can. But he understands what his limitations are. So 45 days or 40 days before he gets ready to put the property on the market, while he's doing his finishing touches, he calls a home inspector in. He gets a full document. So this way, now in Pennsylvania, you do have to have a seller's disclosure. In Jersey, it is optional. Why wouldn't you want to include that? If I'm flipping a house, if I bought a house that
Right.
was in disarray and I turned it into this Mac Daddy house, wouldn't I want to advertise that? Do I
Right.
understand you might not want before and after photos, but I definitely want to make sure what was done to the property. What did you do to the property? But here,
Sure.
I'm going to put the icing on the cake. Now I got someone who is a licensed inspector in my state to go through and check my work, but also give me an, you know, what is, maybe there's something I missed. Maybe there's something I need to address. But if he gives me a clean bill of health, guess what I'm doing? I'm attaching that packet to the seller's disclosure.
Oh,
That,
totally. It adds value. You get to push that up quite a bit. And what if I find stuff? So when I find stuff, the guy who's doing the flip can get all of those things done for way less money than a buyer will want if they find it.
right,
If the
exactly.
buyer finds it, they want full retail. You
Exactly.
you already have a plumber. You probably yell at the guy and say you should have done it already and get it done for free.
Right. Now we've had those. If you just took the 15 extra minutes and the 45 extra dollars, you wouldn't have to pay $5,000 credit for something
Oh my
stupid.
God. All the time. All the time.
All right, great. All right, did we miss anything on the buyer or the seller side in regards to inspections, home inspection, or anything that you think we should go over? Anything that my constituents need to know about?
I would definitely come to the home inspection armed with as many questions as you
Oh,
possibly can bring.
yes.
Like, a
Yeah.
lot of people feel like we do a lot of talking because we're explaining the house. I want them to ask the questions. You could Google what to ask at a home inspection and you'll get like a whole list. And we don't mind. At Eagle, at least, I know we don't mind, because we know who our customer is and we never forget that. Like, we have people to refer us, that's great, but my customer is my customer, and that's my job to protect them as much as I can with education and teaching them as much as I possibly can so they can make the best decisions.
Awesome. Awesome. So now I want to talk a little bit more about Eagle itself. So as any industry, we very rarely have a monopoly. We have choices. We can go
Sure.
wherever we want. If you don't mind me asking you, why did you create Eagle Inspections?
When I was doing inspections for the corporate place that I started at, there were things I didn't feel they were doing to maximize not only their opportunities as a business, but like the product they were giving to the customer. So they weren't as flexible with their timing. Their pricing was, I mean, I get it, you get to charge whatever you want, but I just felt that, like, when people are buying a house, you don't want to be the most expensive thing they're doing. Like, you want to try and help them out as much. I mean, you still want to make money, but you want to help them out and try to be priced where you're supposed to be. And the guy who trained me is probably the guy who gave me the bug. We do a house education. Like, we are teaching our client, and there's no extra cost for that. A home inspection is a home inspection, whether you arrive and you come or you don't. But if you do come, you have that opportunity to have somebody you're in your house you've never had before walk you through your house and teach you. I mean, we give you silly cleaning tips. We give you just all kinds of stuff. It's hard to bottle it up. I was at a seminar once. They told me, you have to try and have like a thing to tell people what you do. So if you hit our website, it'll actually say educating home buyers so they can make better decisions. And that's the
That's
smallest
powerful.
way I know.
Yeah,
how to say it.
that's it. And you nailed it in the beginning when you said that with the company that you were at prior, um, they didn't show the value. They didn't show. It's like, okay, here's our price. This is what we're going to do. All right, if you like us, you like us. But
Right.
you didn't feel that a value that we were giving people. You didn't feel that educate. We need a little bit more hands on. And I know with my industry, there are companies. Look, we all have different models. I don't care what franchise you are. I don't care if you're a boutique shop or whatever. We all have the same goal: more transactions, more agents, more clients, all that good stuff. But everybody has their own little system. So when you were with that system and you're like thinking, I'm not here to recreate the wheel, but I can perfect it. I can make it better for the clients and the feedback that I'm hearing that it's not being answered. So that's great. I applaud you on that. And being in business for 14 years now, your company's up
Yeah.
strong. Yeah, nice. Awesome.
We grow every year.
Okay. So, and you travel quite a distance, right? So it's not like when we were in real estate back in the day when we had no technology. So if we were selling houses in Mayfair or Winchester Park, that was our area. That was our geographic farm. Now with the technology, I mean, my team alone, we cover from Cape May, New Jersey, all the way up to Burlington County. We do Northeast Philadelphia. We do Bucks County and Montgomery County, but we won't go into Center City. That's just an area we don't know. But how do you see that as well with your profession, right?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
So what separates Eagle from the other franchises, from the mom and pop company that's just starting up? Why should somebody focus on your company and not somebody else's?
Well, we started with trying to be price competitive. So if you go with another company that's on par or similar to us as far as technology and size, we're typically $100 less than them price wise. We go the extra mile with educating our customer. We go the extra mile in going further. So if we have agents that are doing work and they get a job in Pottstown, we're going. We currently cover Philadelphia and the 4 surrounding counties as our primary, but then that's, we go out further for our referring agents or a customer that's a repeat. We'll go out a little further distance. And I have 4 inspectors of our current guys that'll be licensed in Jersey in the next couple of months, depending on how long Jersey takes to do the paperwork.
That's awesome.
Because that's literally the other part of the Philadelphia metro area. It's just on the other side of the river. So we really want to be able to offer that to not just our agents, but our customers, because they might have a house in Philly and they live there for a while. They know us because they bought and sold a couple of houses. Now they're going down the shore. And we want to be able to still service our customers, just, and we don't mind the distances because it's, we can only do about 2 inspections a day. That gives us a lot of time where we can travel and it really doesn't, hurt our day.
Awesome. So I get a home inspection from you, whether I'm a seller and I do a pre-home inspection or I'm a buyer and I do a home inspection. Are we done? Are we over? Is our relationship done?
Never. The only thing we charge you for is the inspection, but our customers can pick up the phone and give us a call. We were just talking to the gentleman this morning who's buying a house downtown. And he was shocked to hear that, like, if he gets a contractor to come do a project, I said, shoot us the estimate. We'll bullet point it for you and say, well, you might want to ask these questions so your contractor's keeping it honest. We just saved a young lady. She was going to get a hot water heater. She didn't need one. I think that one she had was only 2 years old, but the person who sold the house was an investor, so he turned down the thermostat. So she thought it didn't work. And the plumber was good. Plumber's going to charge her $3,500 for a new water heater.
Oh man!
And I just went back to the photos. We keep the pictures of every home inspection up in a cloud-based system. I pulled those pictures down. I looked at her thing, and I'm like, "Well, did you think about turning up the thermostat?" And she's like, "What?"
What, the thermostat in the house?
So I FaceTimed her and I walked her through it. I said, "Look, if you want me to, I'm going to be in your neighborhood tomorrow. I can do it. But if you want a hot shower tonight, I can walk you through on the phone." And I walked her through it, and she got to that point where your face turns red and you feel silly.
But you know what? That saved her $3,500.
That she didn't. I don't understand some of these contractors. That's like, how do you not? You see it. We know it. Like we do it
So
all the time. It makes sense that she didn't know, but we know.
yeah, and it stinks too because there are certain people out there that are cutting corners. I'm not saying everybody does it
No, no.
deliberately, but um, I lost my train of thought on the last question. But let's skip that. Well, maybe if I remember, I'll come back to it. But tell us if somebody wanted to reach out to you, how are they reaching out to you? Who are they calling? Where are you located? What's the best way they can get in contact with you?
Email or calling, we don't mind. We all give our cell numbers out to our customers. When we email them the report, they can flip back in that. I have staff that are working 7 days a week answering the phone in-house that are our people, so we don't farm any of that out. If you call after 10 o'clock at night, it's an answering service, but then every time you talk to them, I get a text message 2 seconds after you hang up, so I can call people back. There's 4 of us that are on that call thread, so if I can't call them back, someone else will. We are super available.
Give everybody your phone number, give everybody your email
Sure.
address.
Yeah, the email address is eagleinspectionpa.com for our website. My cell number is 215-817-1053. And I start with that one because I have no trouble at all answering my cell. Or the office is 267-538-2292. That's the
Awesome.
office line. And you can get our people all the time, and they're very knowledgeable. Like, they're not call center people, they work here, and we make sure they know the answers to the questions.
Awesome. Awesome. It was great talking to you, Eric. You're full of knowledge. And I hope this helps everybody to get a better understanding what to expect on a home inspection, how valuable it is. And especially in this market in the last 2 years, people were waiving inspections.
Oh,
People were literally, and the only reason they were waiving the inspection, they weren't, this wasn't the scenario. Hey, I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to go 10,000 over asking, and I'm going to waive my inspection. Nobody comes up with that. Nobody decides the first house. It's when they get beat out on offers, and they're getting beat out, whether it's overpriced or they're waiving inspections. And then they go to another house, put another offer, get beat out. They waived
right.
inspection.
They get
Like, what
frustrated.
do I do? They get frustrated. They get tunnel vision, and they're like, all right, we'll waive our inspection. And then what happens is 2 months later, you're in the house, you're hating your real estate agent. You're hating them for recommending that.
Oh,
But it was because you got beat up, you got tunnel vision. So in our industry as a real estate agent, we I hate this question all the time too. Like I'll have a buyer ask me, Mike, what would you offer for this property? What would you ask for in the home inspection report? I'm not the one buying the house.
right.
But here's your options. You can ask for a credit. You can get the repairs done by a licensed professional, or you can say you're going to do it yourself. Whatever it is, you have to determine what your first of all, you have to interview your agent to make sure they know what your options are. Everybody thinks they look at the contract, elect, waived. No, there's a middle. There's quite a few options in there. I can say, hey, you know what? I want a full inspection, but I'm going to accept the first $5,000 in repairs as the buyer. But anything over 5,000, I don't want to be locked into it. We're going to have a meeting of the minds. We need to readjust this.
Sure.
Or you can say to yourself, you know what, Mr. Seller, I'm going to get my inspection for informational purposes only. Well, Mike, what's the difference between that and waived? Well, if I waive it, I'm done. If I elect it and I tell the seller, I'm not going to ask you for anything, but the requirement, those stipulations in that paragraph still state that if one repair comes back or 2 repairs come back, the buyer is able to get out of the contract for any reason
Absolutely.
whatsoever. So there are different options out there. You just have to make sure that you have the right representation to give you those options. And that goes for your real estate agent, that goes for your home inspector, and any loved ones who have claimed that they are an expert in real estate when the last time they bought something was like 1972.
Oh,
Oh, you love those people at the home inspector?
I love the dads that show up with a measuring tape and start walking through the house.
Do you ever
And
have the dad with the work belt on?
yeah,
I
yeah,
had one of them.
yeah. We actually do a few days of training when the guys are in training, how to manage that situation
So
without
you're like
upsetting.
a counselor. This is great.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
you don't have to upset them, but you just have to kind of manage that situation so that, the information gets to the buyer and doesn't get clouded by their family helper.
Well, that was actually the question I forgot. So in my industry, if you get your real estate license, you're good to go. So, and I don't want to get too much into it, but you pass a test.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, great. I'm blessed now. I can go sell houses.
Right.
My only education requirement, I mean, besides the class, I only have to take once ever, right? I have to take about maybe 16-hour credit hours. And guess what? These credit hours may not even pertain to what I do every single day.
Sure.
So on my team, it's mandatory. We have a set requirement of what you're supposed to do education wise that is focused on the new technology coming out, what the requirements on ethics. Ethics is very big with us. Do you implement anything like that in your company?
We do. It's so the bare minimum for a home inspector in Pennsylvania is to be a member in good standing of a national organization. And there's a whole lot of testing and stuff to get through that. So there's a really deep level of education that you have to get to that point. But at Eagle, we take it a little bit further, because when we're training our guys, we actually have them do a transition of like 2 days of the schooling online or in person, and then riding with an inspector, and then 3 days of in schooling, and then 2 days of riding with an inspector. So that I want them not only to learn it in the school, but I want them to see how we explain it to the person. And I found that the way that we do it in that setup, because we've trained a ton of people over the years, the information gets in there and it stays. Like,
that's awesome.
We've been able to train some younger guys that, some of my agents will see these guys and be like, is he old enough to be doing this? I'm like, he may be my best guy, because he came in with no bad habits. He doesn't have all that contracting, whatever. He knows his stuff to the letter and knows how to explain it to the customer. So
I definitely believe that, because with the training, you can be someone who is book smart, but actually know nothing about the technology, know nothing about the hands-on.
Sure.
So it's great when you're doing it at the same time. You have the tech, you're learning either from the book or verbally, but you're getting the hands-on. You're actually picking up the screwdriver. You're picking up the devices that you need. You're actually going through it. And I think that is the best way of learning it, because guess what? We fail. We fail over. And don't be ever afraid of failing, because you need to fail forward. If you fail, learn why you failed. Now, if you failed for the same exact thing, all right, that's shame on you. You aren't paying attention. But if you failed and you learned, you're not going to fail from that again.
No,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Eric, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for the education you gave us today. And if there's anything that we can do for you, let us know. And guys, as always, this is Mike Fitzpatrick, the Mike Fitzpatrick team at Keller Williams. If you have any real estate, mortgage, title, or coaching questions, please reach out to us at 267-549-2505. But Eric, give us your signature again. Tell us how to reach you, and then we'll end up.
Eagle Inspections LLC. You can get us at 267-538-2292. That's our office line. You can email us at info@Eagle Inspections LLC. And our website, eagleinspectionpa.com, has a tremendous amount of information. And a lot of the education that we give out on site is available right through the website.
Awesome. That was great. All right, guys, talk to you later.